Hey y'all, it's me, it's Cole. I'm back. And last week, we talked about a couple of things the last couple of weeks, from being emotionally out of control to, just letting men be men. And today we're going to talk about toxic traits. And again, I'm in your house, and by your house, I mean my house. And Bestie has something to admit to you guys. Me being emotionally out of control is absolutely toxic. It's something I really got to deal with. And I've been dealing with it, Sunday's doing well. He's doing very, very well. We've dropped all the other days of the week, so that's great. Good for me. Kudos. I'll pat myself on the back for that, even if you don't. But I think the thing we need to focus on with the toxic traits is not how to get rid of them, but how to manage them and to recognize what triggers that toxic trait and how to react or respond when it happens. And that, I think will help out our relationship. So I've got the usual crew plus G. We got Abru, we've got Felicia, and G came on last week, so he's back. He loves us. I think he's hooked. So G brought up a point. He was like, is anger a toxic trait? And we were like, yes.
Yes, it is, G.
So tell us, G, what do you mean by is anger a toxic trait?
Well, I guess the question was that, being temperamental. And of course, I guess I can, you guys kind of shed the light on that.
Don't tell us. Do you have temper issues?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's real.
Absolutely.
Honesty is the best policy.
But no, I think it's important to kind of be aware. You be conscious in the moment of what that starts to flare up those particular traits. As far as me being temperamental, I think it's important to kind of be aware in the moment and kind of take a pause, check yourself, and kind of to maybe however you decide to manage that, whether you need to talk to yourself or whatever that case may be, just kind of take a moment and, just be aware and before you react off of those emotions, just kind of,
So what does she do to make you mad?
Let me see if I can give you an example. So
we want it. It's juicy, it's hot.
I think a lot of the times I tend to get upset or angry if someone we start to fight about the same thing. Repetitiveness is one of my things. So if we talked about a certain issue more than once and we came to the conclusion, we've had the conversation, and 3 weeks or however long down the road, we're having this same conversation again about this issue, and at that point, I'm wondering, if is there something that was miscommunicated? Like, what's the issue? And later on, we're having this same conversation about this same particular issue. Then, I'm starting to get a little bit frustrated. And so, I think at that point,
I got a question, G.
What's up?
So you have moved on.
Oh,
you have closure. Does she have closure?
That's it.
Because maybe that's why she's still talking about it. I'm just asking.
And that's a good question, because my previous situations where I have kind of started to get flustered about a certain particular issue, we've concluded after the conversation that we have this understanding about it.
All right.
So then we're moving forward, but then we kind of circle back to the same issue. Then again, the question is, what is the problem? So I think it's easy for anyone to become a little bit frustrated.
You know what they say, y'all? They say hit dogs holler. So I'm a holler. G is in my house on my sofa because literally I dealt with this week, and I was the one that was bringing it up, and Sunday made the comment that we weren't going to keep having the same conversation every 2 weeks about the same problem, and I needed to figure that out real quick because we had already come to a resolution, the same resolution 3 times already for the last, and he was real frustrated, and I didn't understand why. And then I started crying. And
damsel in distress.
And then, the damsel in distress became a damsel in some mess, because I knew this was an issue, and it has been an issue for like 6 weeks, and I keep bringing it up every 2 weeks, and then he got mad, and then I started crying, and then I kicked him out the room, and then he came back, and he was like, how you gonna be mad at me because I'm mad at you over something we already talked about?
The cycle repeats.
Yeah. Yes, and it's so toxic. But look at what it did. Like, my toxicity brought something out of him that's toxic, and now we both are in some mess. Like,
it's a mess.
We gotta check ourselves. Yes.
Well, I'm gonna be, vulnerable in the moment. If I'm not done with the conversation, I cannot ignore the elephant in the room. I'm so sorry. I cannot move on past it. Now, in both of your examples, you both talked about reaching an understanding or a conclusion on it. I think in that case, I'm probably okay. But my husband knows me. And if I have not resolved it, it's coming up.
Again.
And it's coming up. And it's going to coming up. And he's over here breathing, y'all. It's going to keep coming up until I have resolved it within myself.
Yeah.
That's toxic. And I'm just putting it out there. But I cannot ignore the elephant in the room.
Somebody said that made us basic.
Basic?
Yes. Yo, I'm not kidding. So I was reading this book, and it's called Men Don't Love Women Like You. That's what it's called. It's an audiobook. You can get on Audible for like 2 credits, or for free if you have Audible, Amazon, whatever. But yeah, he was like, women, he calls them Spartans in the book, and you're dating Spartans, like you are here to mess up the dating world, and you are attractive in the sense that you yourself have done the work, and you are solid in yourself, and you are will be all the things. You're not focused on him, you're not trying to make him do whatever. And he was like, this is what happens. Women do all of this work, and they're confident, they attract the man, but when it comes time to keep the man, they revert back to their basic female drama selves of feeling like we have to make and prove our point, of feeling like we have to keep bringing up things that we've already come to a resolution. I just didn't in my head. We did out loud, but in my head, I still got it going on in my head. And we get exposed as a regular women. And so the person that the man thought that he was getting, that's fun and spontaneous and carefree and lighthearted and sexy and all the things and respect him, turns out to be just like every other woman that's going to call and cuss him out for something we already talked about.
Yikes.
So I guess I'm basic Cole, but I'm working on it.
I'm basic Felicia too.
Hi, I'm basic.
My name is Felicia, and I'm basic. I don't know. I don't know where to go from here, because we all have positive things and negative things about ourselves, and we're all trying to work on it. And I think for those of you who are living in the single space, I think it's good that you're here and you're being vulnerable and you're reflecting and you're teaching yourself, how to be better. And I can just hope that on the other side of things that the men are doing that too. But I think that's what G is saying,
Yeah, I would have to say that, excuse me. I was in a similar situation, and I think as 2 people are in a relationship, I feel like we have to give each other a certain amount of grace when it comes down to it's so easy to misinterpret. And so if we're talking about a certain issue, and then we're expecting our significant other to understand and come to the conclusion that we've had that understanding. It's time for us to move on. We come to the resolution. So many things can easily get misinterpreted, and I think it's good to kind of check in with your partner every now and then to kind of make sure we're still good, make sure we still have that understanding. We give each other that grace and not expect the other person to change overnight and get it right the first time. Give each other that grace. And it comes with time. All great things come with time, and kind of give each other that grace. And once we come back around, if the same issue comes back around, and we hope it doesn't.
Y'all should see his face.
It's like I just ate a lemon. But anyway, if the issue comes back around, we give each other that grace and just realize that it takes time and repetition to be able to perfect and get past certain things. So from my personal experience, that's something that I had to learn how to do because the temper wouldn't allow that at first. But anyway, that's my
I like
take on
it.
that.
I do too. I feel like something really good that you said was expectations. I know for a fact that being single in any relationship, it doesn't even just involve romantic relationships, but in any relationship, we have to learn to manage our expectations of people. And we can't expect them to play by this rule book if we haven't given them the rules. Like, the relationship is new. G doesn't know that when I call his phone, I expect him to answer. And if he can't talk, I would prefer you send me a text and say, hey, I can't talk, I'll call you later. He doesn't know that, so why am I mad? Now I've taken that and I've created this toxicity in our relationship. It's all about managing expectations. And with that, I think then comes grace, then comes understanding, then comes communication, because you have a real sense of, this is what I expect. I've communicated what I expect, and now I can offer this grace because But when we don't give the rules to the game, we're setting ourselves up to be in these horrible, toxic, trashy relationships. And I don't understand why we just now figuring this thing out. Like, Felicia, you older than me. Why you hadn't ever come to me and been like, hey, Cole, like, listen.
Take it down 1,000.
A whole 1,000. Like, come on, let me tell you something. And I think that's the thing that I have the most disrespect and disdain for the older generation. Not you, of course. I just mean, like, my parents. Like, they lived this, and like your parents, the boomers of the world, and our grandparents, nobody ever sat down with me and said, hey, relationships are good. They can be extremely healthy, but you've got to manage this, or you've got to be realistic about that, or these are the things that you do in order to keep and maintain a healthy relationship. My grandmother, all she said to me was, baby, everybody need a friend.
Can you be more specific?
Correct. Like, I did not know that it was going to take this much work and this kind of work.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like it's unhealthy. It honestly seems like it puts two people in a place to know themselves well enough to communicate it to somebody else. And I think that's what life is about.
At the end of the day, I truly think it's about bargaining and renegotiating with each other. Because today, Cole, you are one person, and Sunday is one person. And in 10 years, you're two different people. We're not meant to live life and stay the same. We're growing, we're learning, we're changing, we're evolving, whatever your term may be. And so if you set parameters in your relationship and you get to understand how we're going to fight, how we're going to communicate, these are the ground rules, and these rules will continue even though we as a person are going to evolve and become somebody different. Like, if you can agree to do that, now you have something to work with. Because we're not going to be perfect. And it's toxic as we're thinking that all of these examples from Cole, from myself, and from G have been in this episode. Like, I was watching Worst Ex Ever on Netflix, and y'all need to check that out. The first episode, Dating the Devil. The second episode, Betrayed by the Badge. 3, Killing for Custody. And 4, Married to a Monster. As bad as what we're talking about is considered toxic, you really don't know toxic until you watch some of these episodes, because really all we're trying to do is coexist in a relationship, and we're trying to set the ground rules and trying to get to a place that we can say, okay, I can deal with this. You know, these are some things that I won't deal with, but this is something I can work with right in life as we try to stay together, because it doesn't just end when you get married. You get married, you had your special day, you think, oh, wow, I have arrived. You know, I got my husband. You know, as women, that's what we're thinking. I'm married now, you know, but that's when the trouble begins. You know, the challenges begin. And so you got to lay the groundwork with how we're going to fight, how we're going to communicate, and how we're going to negotiate with each other.
That's good. It sounds like, even with these horrible episodes, at the end of the day, if somebody would step up and have a conversation, then a lot of this could be avoided.
Yeah.
So, all right, y'all. Communication is key. Let your ego go. And I'll see y'all next week. That's it. That's my show.